as we begin this lesson, then we'll be comparing and ordering fractions. There are three different ways that you can compare and order fractions. We're going to look at 7/10 and 3/4. You can look at their decimal equivalents. 7/10 in decimal form is 0.7. 3/4 is going to be equal to 75 hundredths. But this only works if you enjoy dividing, because you can divide 7 divided by 10 and 3 divided by 4, or you have these memorized. But it seems to be more difficult for the decimal equivalents. So another method that you can use would be finding the least common denominator. So the least common denominator of 7/10 and 3/4 would be 20. So we're going to find equivalent fractions with the denominator of 20. So 7/10 is going to be equal to 14 over 20. 3/4 is going to be equal to 15 over 20. Now we can compare those two. And notice that 3/4 is going to be the larger of the two. Now our last method that we can use is comparing them using cross products. Cross products, you would multiply the 7 times the 4, which is 28. The 3 times the 10, which is 30. Compare these two. 28 is less than 30, so 7/10 will be less than 3/4. In this screen, I've tried to demonstrate why you use cross products. You have a model of 5/8 and 7/12. When you divide the model of 7/12 into 8 equal pieces, you get 56 shaded parts out of the 96 total parts. So if you took that fraction of 7/12 and you took it and divided that portion into 8 equal parts, you would get 56 shaded out of the 96 total parts. Then on the other fraction, when you divide a model of 5/8 into 12 equal parts, which is the denominator for 7/12, you get 60 shaded parts out of 96. So you'll notice when you compare the two products, because 60 is greater than 56, the 5/8 is greater than 7/12. Because you multiply the 5 times the 12, which is 60, 7 times the 8, which is 56, and that's how you come with the result of 60 is greater than 56. So now we have some exercises that we are going to use, either cross products or find the least common denominator. I'm going to pause the video, work each one, then come back and let you check your answers. As you go back and check A through J, the ones on the left-hand side, I used cross products to determine if they were less than, greater than, or equal to. The ones on the right-hand side, I found a least common denominator, compared the fractions to determine which one was the larger of the two. Check your answers. You'll notice on H, we reduced them. 17/34 reduces to 1/2. 9/18 reduces to 1/2, so that I can clearly see that those are equal. In J, I needed to reduce 228/800. And looking at the fraction that I was comparing it to, I wanted to just reduce it by 2, which would give me a common denominator of 400. So 228 divided by 2 is 114. 800 divided by 2 is 400. So 114 is less than 133. So 228/800 is less than 133/400. Now, you'll be given assignments to compare and order fractions, sometimes more than 2. In these examples, you are asked to order the fractions from least to greatest. Always use the original number when ordering. Now, the best method to use when you have more than 2 fractions would be find the least common denominator. So in each of these examples, we are going to compare the fractions in order to put them from least to greatest using a least common denominator for each one. I'm going to pause the video, solve each problem, and you can come back and check each one. Now you'll notice on A that the least common multiple for those fractions were 30. So I found equivalent fractions for each one with the denominator of 30. Then as I went through, compared them from least to greatest. I marked through it as I used them so to help with less confusion. In B, those fractions have a least common denominator of 24. So I found equivalent fractions with a denominator of 24, ordered them from least to greatest. On C, least common denominator was 36. Put them in order from least to greatest in the original format. And D, I left D to show the example. For those four fractions, their least common denominator is going to be 28. So 9/14 is going to equal to 18 over 28. 5/7 is going to equal to 20 over 28. 3/4 is going to equal to 21 over 28, and 5/28 will stay the same. So now if I'm going from least to greatest in the original format, 5/28 is going to be my smallest. So I'll put 5/28 first. And my next one will be 18 over 28, which is 9/4. My next will be 5/7. And my last will be 21 over 28. The original format is 3/4. Now let's take what we've learned about comparing and ordering fractions for this word problem. On Halloween night, you ate 14 36 pieces of candy, and your friend ate 17 35th pieces of candy. Who ate the bigger fraction? So we're going to compare 14 over 36 with 17 over 35. Now the first thing you always want to check to see if you can reduce or simplify the fractions. And I'm noticing that 14 over 36 can be reduced to 7 over 18 because they have a common factor of 2. And now I am going to compare 7/18 to 17 over 35. Again, my options are decimals, which are not very friendly, least common denominator, or, so the method that I will use for these two will be cross products. 17 times 35 and 17 times 18. 7 times 35, which is 245. 17 times 18, which is 306. 245 is less than 306. So 14 over 36 is less than 1735. The question asks, who ate the bigger fraction of candy, you or your friend? So your final answer will be your friend. In our last example, one evening you spent 13 over 15 of an hour completing your homework. The next night you spent 3/5 of an hour completing your homework. Which night did you complete your homework in less time? I'm going to pause the video, put the answers up, and you choose. Would you like to use a least common denominator or cross products to solve this problem? Now, when I looked at both of their denominators, I noticed that they had a common denominator of 15. So I kept 13/15 to 13/15, changed 3/5 to 9/15, therefore comparing the two, 13/15 is greater than 9/15. So your final answer would be, which night did you complete your homework in less time? That would be not the previous night. Which one is larger, the 13 over 15? So that is larger. So your final answer would be, so since 13 over 15 is greater than 9/15, 9/15 would indicate the least amount of time, so it would be the second night that you spent the least amount of time doing your homework.